Welcome back, you beautiful people, or if you're new, thank you so much for stopping by. This video is part of a Bhagavad Gita playlist found on my channel. I add a video to this playlist every Monday, Australian time. And in this playlist, we're picking apart this Bhagavad Gita, chapter by chapter. And this will be part 3 of chapter 3, and this will end the chapter. A quick review if you're new, or if you're not new and you've forgotten, what have we covered? The first part of chapter 3, we talked about what is karma yoga, how to perform it, and why we should be doing it. Because this reality is in the mode, the nature of giving. Everything's in the nature of service. So we need to get into the flow of reality, and eventually that will bring us peace and happiness. If you think of reality like a body, if everything's acting like a normal cell, every cell benefits, and the host benefits. If too many of us are acting like a cancerous cell, it creates disharmony in the body and others. If you look up the definition between a normal cell and a cancerous cell, you'll notice those differences. The normal cells in our body act in accordance with keeping the body maintained, happy and healthy. A cancerous cell goes against the natural flow and kills off the host, unfortunately, or gets cut out if the host, the person, is lucky and blessed. So that's the best way to look at it. Think of ourselves like cells in God's body. That's why I use the example a lot of, imagine your body was God's body. There's the one undivided consciousness running through this entire body. But imagine if all your fingers, toes, body parts started developing an ego. Your little finger develops an ego, your thumb, and then the little finger says, there's no way I'm that thumb. Look how different we are. Let alone those toes, or that nose or ears. Ugh. There's the one consciousness running through all body parts. That's what Advaita Vedanta is saying. And just quickly, I got a comment on a video a couple of days ago, basically saying, why believe in empathy if it's all one? And I can't blame the person for asking this question, because that is what modern non-duality online has done. It gets people so confused. Advaita Vedanta is a complete teaching. They address every aspect of reality. That's the fundamental thing we need to realize. It's the one source appearing separate, but we still have to deal with this appearance. It's like the one electricity running through all appliances. So if there's the one consciousness running through my hand, if I break this little finger, this is going to be in so much pain. This thumb knows nothing about the pain, but me, as the entire entity, know about this pain and will show it empathy. I will come to the rescue of this finger and fix it. This hand, who has nothing to do with this hand, will go and help or take it to the doctor. I won't get into too much of a detailed explanation, but if you can get the feel of it, there's the one consciousness running through our bodies and minds. But we are distinct entities. We have our own separate thoughts and feelings. That's where many people get confused or get solipsistic and then say, why help? It's all a figment of my imagination. It's all a dream, all that kind of, it gets so messy. But we'll end that conversation there. Basically, why perform karma yoga? We're part of an integrated whole. And to serve the rest of reality is ultimately to serve yourself. And if everyone's thinking of, just say you had 10 people, if everyone's thinking of the 9 others, you're thinking of 9 people, and then you've got 9 people thinking of you. See how it's more efficient? When everyone's thinking of everyone else, everyone benefits. When 10 people are just looking out for themselves, there's only one person looking out for you. You. You're cutting yourself off. It's all about me. When you think of the 9 others, they think of you. That's how it's ideally meant to work. So karma yoga is getting you into the service mindset. Also, you ultimately need a faith in a higher power. Devotion is love to a higher principle. You can call that God, as we commonly know it, or just that conscious, intelligent principle running through all reality. Whether you like it or not, nature is in a constant state of flow, change. There's an intelligence. You throw a seed in the ground, it grows. You cut yourself, your body knows how to heal. Again, I won't get into a detailed discussion, but there's a conscious intelligence running through this reality. And to serve this conscious intelligence is to serve yourself. To pray to this higher power, have you even tried it? Genuinely prayed? It'll change your life, honestly. That was the game changer for me, devotion. I grew up in religion, didn't want to touch it. Even when I got into non-duality, thought, I do not want to touch this God teaching. They talk about God in traditional teachings. I said, no, I can get by without it. Thank you, but no thank you. I finally put my ego to the side and thought, all right, let's do some devotion. Changed my life, honestly. But again, you're going to go down your path. In part 2 of chapter 3, what we talked about last week, what were we learning? How the enlightened, once they realize it's the one appearing separate, ultimately there's nothing to gain or retain from performing actions. Why do they still act in what we call a loving way, a nice way, a good way, to set an example for the rest of us? Humans are naturally devotional. We look up to people for inspiration, guidance. If our leaders or the enlightened people we look up to are laying around going, there's no one here, nothing to do. Let's have a sex orgy. Let's just hurt others. It's all one, right? We're going to go, oh, well, if the enlightened are doing it, we can too. We're taking our lead from them. That's why nothing they do in this world will bring them happiness, because they're already in a state of happiness. Whether they're doing something or not, they're happy. But to lead us on the right path, they do spiritual practice. Why? Because spiritual practice purifies the mind and intellect. It's preparing the soil of the mind for non-dual knowledge to be inserted. Once it's inserted, it can flourish. With continued spiritual practice, the non-dual knowledge has a chance to grow and stabilize. That's why spiritual practice is important before enlightenment, while you're gaining the enlightening knowledge, and after enlightenment. It won't feel like a chore. It'll be a pleasure. It'll feel like your natural state of being. Like this is what we're supposed to be doing. Service, devotion, love, having a peaceful, happy mind. It's natural. We're just addicted to our egoic thinking. We're like a drug addict. We know we need to get off the drugs, but we can't. Non-duality is the path of knowledge. Correct faulty knowledge and then act in accordance with that knowledge. That's what Karma Yoga is. Devotion is knowledge in action. That's another thing Krishna was trying to tell Arjuna. He's like, what do you want me to do? You said knowledge is superior to action. Now you're telling me to act, engage in this terrible war. Krishna says, look, I just told you, and I understand why you're confused. The knowledge I gave you is the knowledge of Karma Yoga. Perform your duties in an unattached way. We also touched on free will, how it's an illusion. Now, one thing I should say is don't think about this free will thing too much. This is a very deep teaching that it's an illusion. Much like the realization of your true self, it can get twisted and people can say, oh, why not hurt others? It's all one anyway. This illusion of free will, it can be corrupted. So I just mentioned it because Krishna was bringing in some verses. But honestly, here's what you need to do. The average person, here's what you need to do. Do you feel like you've got free will? You naturally feel like it. So freely do spiritual practice. Don't overthink free will. Freely do spiritual practice. Freely be a good person. And what you'll find, eventually you'll realize, oh, it was all an illusion anyway. God was leading me here and there, making me think I'm doing this and that. But don't skip ahead. Don't try to, like when you're a kid, I remember being told this in primary school. If you cheat on this test, you're only cheating yourself. And as a kid, I'm thinking, but the goal is to pass the test, isn't it? I wasn't old enough to realize you need to understand what you're being taught. Otherwise, it's of no use. So here's the simple thing. Feel like you got free will? Freely do the right thing. Eventually, it'll evaporate, but don't try to turn this into a belief system. That's all I'm saying. And now I'll put timestamps in this video. I seem to have very long intros lately. Now let's get into chapter 3, part 3. There's only 10 verses. And in these last 10 verses, we're going to talk about being your authentic self. Don't try to be something that you're not. Start where you're at. And also, what causes all this strong desire for the world? What causes us to commit a sin? In quotes. That's what Krishna ends on too. Really beautiful stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. Chapter 3, verse 33. Even the wise people act according to their natures, for all living beings are propelled by their natural tendencies. What will one gain by repression? Krishna is basically saying, you need to act in accordance with your nature. We've all got different habits and tendencies. Repressing who you are is not going to help you. That is my issue with organized religion. They're trying to box everyone into act this way. It's like we're all on different stages. We've all got different personalities. Imagine telling everyone, drop all that, become a monk. Run away, become a monk. It's not going to work. You're suppressing your natural tendencies. It's going to lead to repression. It's going to lead to misery. That's why I love Hinduism. They tell you, start where you're at. Whatever you're thinking and feeling, continue to do that, but slowly move all these desires Godwardly. That's the whole point of Karma Yoga. The basic teaching is do everything you're normally doing. But instead of thinking I'm doing this for me and mine, think of it like I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but think I'm going to do this as an offering to God. Whatever I'm doing, think mentally, offering it to God. I'm doing it for God's benefit, not mine. Take it slow. If you're new, of course, you've got a lot of conditioning and habits and tendencies to work through, but that's the first step. Turning this mind selfless. Getting God on the mind. If you're going to get angry at life, just get angry at God. See, think about God, whether you're happy with God or angry. When things go right, thank you, God. When things go wrong, God, what are you doing to me? Why the hell have you given me this world? At least you're thinking about God. You're not blaming others or the world. See, we need to start where we're at. So, first step, be yourself. Honestly accept what you are. And that's why I say in other videos about realizing oneness, non-dual truth, don't try to make this reality something that it's not. Don't try to see oneness or try to alter your speaking. Just take reality as it's presented. You feel like a separate person in a separate world. You've got bad habits and tendencies. Start there. All we need to do, try to get a little bit of devotion. Try to think, I'm doing this action for God, not for myself. This will slowly make the mind selfless and neutralize our likes and dislikes. Slowly. Move slowly at your own pace. And verse 34. The senses naturally experience attachment and aversion to sense objects, but do not be controlled by them, for they are layers and foes. Here's the thought that may have come to your head, quite naturally. Oh, I can just be myself. I can just continue to drink alcohol, sleep around, take drugs. That's my natural tendencies. Well, first of all, I could be wrong, but most people thinking and feeling that won't be watching spiritual videos. You do have some sense of morality or wanting to change if you're watching spirituality. But just say you're that type of person. This is what this verse covers. Krishna is saying, senses naturally go to their objects, but don't be controlled by them. You need to accept where you're at. You need to accept all your flaws, but try to make a change. As much conscious will as you can muster. Next time you look at that bottle of alcohol or drugs or whatever, tell yourself, here's the problem. I feel irritable because I don't have the thing. By indulging in that behavior, I'm going to feel temporary relief, but it's also reinforcing the habit for next time. It'll be like you've got an itch that you're scratching, and when you scratch the itch, it gets rid of that feeling of irritation. But imagine if you had some powder on your fingers where you're scratching, gets rid of the itch, but then you've got that powder that reinforces the itch stronger next time. Itchy, oh, I've got relief. Even itchier, relief, even itchier. This is hard. This is why spirituality is hard. You want it to make a change, you got to put in the work. It's not, oh, it's the one appearing separate, let's just lay around, do nothing. That's not going to help you. You're deluding yourself. I'm sorry. I made this channel to help, and this is what traditional teachings are saying. So accept where you're at, and you're going to fall off. It's going to be hard, I understand. But as many times as you can, get your senses out of the sense objects. You might succeed 1 out of 10. At least you've tried. And then slowly it might be 2 out of 10. You need to break this habit. Because ultimately you are the source of happiness. Your default state is happiness. You get the itch, which disturbs the happiness. You scratch it, you're back to a state of peace. We need to get rid of this itch once and for all. It takes a lot of work. But again, just to sum up that verse, be careful. Try as much willpower as you can to stop. And then that will develop a new habit slowly. Verse 35. It is far better to perform one's natural prescribed duties, though tinged with faults, than to perform another's prescribed duty, though perfectly. In fact, it's preferable to die in the discharge of one's duty than to follow the path of another, which is fraught with danger. Again, you need to be yourself and you need to follow your heart. This day and age, it's very tough. Have you ever heard that saying, what would you do if money was no object? That's what you should be doing as a job. Sounds good in theory and all, but many of us can't do that. Many people are perfect at their job, but it's soul destroying. They're very good at their job, but they would rather be doing something else. But the problem is we all have bills. So they do a job that they don't really care about, but they need the money. That's the unfortunate thing of this reality. That's the unfortunate thing in this day and age. You're better just to be yourself and follow your heart than to fake it. Again, repression. It's like me, for instance, with YouTube. I could talk about so many topics that are so much more popular than non-duality. Non-duality gets a bad name and is very unpopular. But the thing is, my heart's in this. I made this channel to help. It's in my heart. It's not ultimately popular. But if I wanted to be very popular, I can talk about other things. But the thing is, my heart's not in it. I always go where my heart is, and my heart's in this teaching. So I could do other videos perfectly on other subjects, but I'd rather make videos on non-duality, tinged with faults, to help as many people as I can. So it's the same with you guys. If you, in an ideal world, you would do what you love, but many of us can't. So basically, the advice Krishna is saying is just be yourself, your genuine, authentic self to the best of your ability. Because repression and faking it is not going to help you. Verse 36. Arjuna asked, why is a person impelled to commit sinful acts even unwillingly, as if by a force, O descendant of Krishna? Now Arjuna is asking a question. Why do people do evil acts? The thing about performing evil acts is we all know what's right and wrong. Even evil people have a conscience. Deep down they know what's right and wrong. That's why they try to cover up their crime. They know it's wrong, and they know they'll go to prison if they get caught. That's why a lot of people plead the insanity defense. I didn't know what I was doing. We all have a conscience. But the thing is, our intellect can rationalize what we do wrong. That's like a lot of people that scam others. I've seen these documentaries where they catch scammers, that call you up and try to sell you something or whatever and break into your bank account. I saw one guy saying, if people are stupid enough to fall for this, they deserve to be taken advantage of. That was his reasoning. He probably believes that. And a lot of criminals are like that. They say, look, this life is about going for what you want. You're scared. You're good. You're weak. You're not going for what you want. Many good people are going for God. When you're really into spirituality, you're not competing for this world. That's why, go at it. Do what you want. That's your life. When you're competing for God, there is no competition. But a lot of these evil people say, look, there's happiness in the world. What are you, scared? Go for what you want. You're weak. You're a chicken. Go get it. But deep down, they know what's right and wrong. And Arjuna's asking, what commits people to do this? Some people enjoy doing it, even though they know it's wrong. Others do the wrong thing, and then we feel bad afterwards. We have remorse. Arjuna's asking, how? Why? Why is this happening, Krishna? Verse 37. The Supreme Lord said, it is lust alone which is born with the mode of passion and later transformed into anger. Know this as the sinful, all-devouring enemy of the world. It is lust alone. You know what lust is? Our soul has a deep love of the transcendent, of God. Our soul is love. It's craving union with God. It's always one with God, but it's forgotten that fact. So that love for God, directed through the ego, is turned into lust. That strong love and lust we have for the world, not just sexual desire, but the love of power, money, of course, sex, that strong lust of the world is love, the love of God directed outwardly. Through the mask of ego, love that's supposed to be directed to God is projected outwardly, and we strongly love this world. You know that strong passion and desire for this world? That's what the spiritual person has for God, for realizing their true self. It's gone that way and been tilted inwardly or upwardly, however you want to view it. And that's why the enlightened and highly spiritual advanced people are so happy and complete. All that, and that's another thing with desire. It's scattered. We've got 1,000 desires in 1,000 different directions. It's like taking one light and splitting it off. Each little beam is strong, but not as strong as if you gathered all that light and direct it, single pointed at one thing. So again, that's what the highly advanced spiritual seekers and enlightened have done. They've taken all these scattered rays of light, made it single pointed, and pointed it inwardly or Godwardly. That's why there's so much peace, happiness, and bliss. Your attention and desire isn't scattered. That's our problem. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want... It's like when you go to the show. Have you ever went to the show? Or the show or the carnival, whatever they call it in America or England. You've got all these little games you can play. And there's one game where there's these clowns, where you hit them on the head. You hit one clown, another one pops up. You hit that one, another one pops up. That's like our desires. We grab this, we're happy. Another one pops up, we grab this, grab this, grab this. The whole spiritual path is knocking all those clowns on their head at the same time. Having a huge hammer to go bang, and then you're in a state of peace. All those desires for the world turn inwardly or Godwardly, and you're in a state of peace. It's your default state. Once you're here, why would you go out into the world anymore? You're wasting your time. You're disturbing the peace. So that's what lust is. It is born of the mode of passion. That's rajas. There are 3 gunas, qualities of material nature: sattva, rajas, and tamas. Sattva is the quality of happiness, goodness. Rajas is the quality of passion, desire. Tamas is the quality of inertia, dullness, laziness. These 3 gunas tie us to the material world. Yes, even sattva. Chains made of gold are still chains. I think that's a Swami Vivekananda quote. We might think, oh, isn't life about being happy, good, peaceful? No, that's still an attachment. It's the best attachment to have, but it's still an attachment. Studying the 3 gunas is really good, but it's really important to know why you are like you are and why you do what you do. Sattva, rajas, and tamas, don't be tamasic. That's lazy, inert. Krishna is very critical because you're not helping anyone. Verse 38, just as fire is covered by smoke, a mirror is masked by dust, and an embryo is concealed by the womb, similarly, one's knowledge gets shrouded by desire. Our intellect can get covered with these 3 gunas I was mentioning, each more thicker than the last. Sattvic desire is still a desire. It's a desire for happiness and goodness. But it's like smoke covering fire. Smoke is very fine. It's light. It's almost immaterial. Covers fire. That's like sattvic desire. Still covers the intellect, but in a good way, because it's all about goodness, peace, harmony. Dust covers a mirror. That's like rajasic desire. Dust is thicker than smoke. But it's lower because you're desiring this world. Sattva is desiring goodness, peace, harmony, God. Rajas is desiring the world. But at least you're productive. At least you're getting things done. The final one, just like the womb covers the embryo, tamas is like a thick layer of conditioning, ignorance. People in a state of tamas are in ignorance. They don't want to do anything in this world. They're of no use to anyone. They're acting like a rock. A rock would be pure tamas. If you act like a rock, it's not good for anyone. You're not spiritual. You're not worldly. That's why Krishna is always encouraging us to, if we're very tamasic, very lazy, dull, get a bit of energy, get things done in the world. You don't have to do it for God. Just get things done. But then as you're getting things done, eventually perform karma yoga. Keep doing what you're doing. Now think of God. That ultimately cultivates sattvic desire, a desire for service, love, devotion. This is all good, of course. But ultimately, the enlightened have transcended all 3 gunas while they operate in sattva guna. Let's just put it like that. So the intellect can get clouded by a thick layer of ignorance, tamas, a thinner layer of ignorance, rajas, and the most fine layer of all, like smoke, is sattva. We need to progress higher. Verse 39, the knowledge of even the most discerning gets covered by this perpetual enemy in the form of insatiable desire, which is never satisfied and burns like fire, O son of Kunti. Krishna says this many times in the Bhagavad Gita. You need to keep your senses in check. Even when you think you're spiritually advanced, we need to keep these senses in check because they're so turbulent. We run off into the world so easily because that's lifetimes of conditioning. And like you said, desire is insatiable, which is never satisfied and burns like a fire. If you have a fire and you class that as desire, if you pour, I think, clarified butter on it, it temporarily dampens the flames, then flames even higher. This is what we need to come to realize eventually. At a certain age, we have to realize every time I desire something, we have to remember what's going to happen. I really want it now. Once I get it, I feel good for a moment, then I want it stronger the next time and the next time. It's very hard to conquer. But again, at a certain age, we have to see the routine of this. Desire the thing, get it. Temporary relief, want it even stronger the next time, get it. Get temporary relief, want it stronger again the next time. Eventually you won't get it, which turns to anger. Unwinnable game. Very hard to conquer and master, but you need the intellect to see this whole routine and put a stop to it. Anything worth doing takes work. As many times as we can, we need to stop reinforcing this habit, which is causing desire, which inevitably causes anger. And anger, clouding the intellect, destroys our life. Verse 40. The senses, mind, and intellect are said to be the breeding grounds of desire. Through them, it clouds one's knowledge and deludes the embodied soul. I made a video, it doesn't even matter whenever you're watching this. I made a video and I used this illustration. In this illustration, you can see at the top are the senses, below that is the mind, and below that is the intellect. That's how most of us operate in this world, without self-knowledge. Our senses are going here and there. It starts developing attachment to the sense objects, which cloud the mind, which cloud the intellect. That's how we get attached to people, places, and experiences. Once we get it, we adapt, we want more. That's basically greed. We want more with more intensity. We get it, we want more with more intensity. Inevitably, it leads to anger when we don't get it. Anger deludes the intellect, and we can do and say some crazy things. So again, that's the first option. You get attached to the world, you get it, it's inevitably going to lead to anger. When you can't get more of it, or it leaves you through death or with people. We naturally need to have relationships with people. But the thing is, when your mind is totally invested in this world and people, you're going to suffer. They're eventually going to leave you through their own choice or death. All your material possessions that you are attached to are going to get old, break down, and we have to get rid of them. How are we meant to live through this life? The mind needs to be anchored in God or the true self. That's where its rock of peace needs to be while we move around this reality. Your relationship with God needs to be number one. You and God, that's the relationship you need. We all need it. And with God firmly attached in the intellect, with our mind on God, we can still get into relationships, friendships, move about this life. But ultimately, no, they've come from God, they're going to go back to God. It's going to hurt, of course. It's natural. But when all our attention and happiness is in this world, it leads to our downfall. We know that that's the thing. We know people come and go, especially through death. But we act and think like no one's going to die. No one's going to leave us. It's a ticking time bomb. It's a ticking time bomb when all your attention's in this world. So how do we get out of all this? First of all, like I said, what's Krishna saying? The senses are controlling the mind. The mind is controlling the intellect. Then we get attached. It's natural. It's totally natural. That's how we've been programmed to think and feel. And it doesn't stop us from, it's not going to make us a cold stone statue. Why love others? Why get into relationships? You just got your priorities right. That's all. Your mind will be attached to God as you move about this reality. Verse 41, therefore, O best of Bharatas, in the very beginning, bring the senses under control and slay this enemy called desire, which is the embodiment of sin and destroys knowledge and realization. I mentioned a lot about family, getting attached to people, but basically what Krishna is really pointing to is, that strong lust for the world, it causes anger. When we don't get what we want, we're angry and we suffer. He's trying to eliminate all that. And that's why he says, bring the senses under control. Your senses are running out into the world, clouding the mind, then clouding the intellect, and then you suffer. He's saying, stop that at its root. Stop getting the senses caught up in the world. Verse 42, the senses are superior to the gross body, and superior to the senses is the mind. Beyond the mind is the intellect, and even beyond the intellect is the soul. Now he's showing us the order of things, how it should be correctly structured for us to live a happy, peaceful, enlightened way of living. Just before I showed you this example, senses on the top, above the mind, above the intellect. When our experiences stack like that, when we operate through this reality with our order of priorities like that, this is what causes suffering. Senses governing the mind, mind governing the intellect. What's the correct way? This one. Another layer has been added, the self, the soul. Once we realize the self, that self-knowledge is supposed to trickle down into the intellect. The intellect governs the mind governs the senses. Once you have self-knowledge, you need to correct your intellect, mind, and senses. It's like everything's out of alignment. It needs to all line up, like turning the numbers on a padlock. Once it all lines up, they call you a person of stabilized wisdom. Now, don't expect to get to this state with just one practice of self-inquiry, because here's the natural flow of events. Firstly, this one, like I showed you, senses in control, which govern the mind, which govern the intellect. When we start learning self-knowledge, it goes to this. See how the self is at the top, we've got self-knowledge, but still, we know the self-knowledge, but we're still in misery and suffering, because still our senses are controlling our mind is controlling our intellect. Why is this? Because we've got the self-knowledge, but our body and mind are in the habit of living like a separate person. That's why many people say, I understand non-duality, it hasn't changed my life. Because that's what spiritual practice is for. We need to do spiritual practice to slowly align all our thoughts, feelings, and actions in alignment with that truth. And then you end up like this, a person of stabilized wisdom. That's why I keep saying spiritual practice is essential. Spiritual knowledge is to know, spiritual practice is to do. Spiritual practice is knowledge in action. They work together. They're one and the same thing. And the final verse, 43, thus knowing the soul to be superior to the material intellect, O mighty armed Arjun, subdue the lower self, senses, mind, and intellect by the higher self, strength of the soul, and kill this formidable enemy called lust. Basically, what I just mentioned. Again, you go from this, you got the self-knowledge, but you're still in suffering, eventually to this. That's what Krishna's saying. It's so important to realize the true self. I understand many people are in the beginner stages and haven't realized it. But once you clearly see what it's pointing to, you don't have to spend so much time on it. Now, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Take action. The soul is meant to change the knowledge in the intellect. What's the knowledge currently for many people? I'm a separate person in a separate world. That needs to be removed and implanted with, it's the one appearing separate. The nature of reality is consciousness, and that's what I am. Tat Twamasi. Thou art that. That's what you are. So the knowledge of the soul needs to be inserted into the intellect. Intellect needs to inform the mind, and the mind the senses. And this is going to take time, of course, but eventually it's all going to line up and you're in a state of inner peace. You understand oneness and you feel it. Oneness, what does it feel like at the feeling level? Love. To feel love is to feel oneness. And to feel love, you need to practice love. What is love? Patience, acceptance, humility, gratitude, all those kind of spiritual qualities. Qualities that I were taught to do in Christianity when I was young, but I didn't know why. I said, why be good? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to be accepting to terrible people? Why should I? Look how much fun they're having. That's what I thought. But now I can see, through the eyes of knowledge and wisdom, it's an unwinnable game. Chasing desires, you get it. Chasing another one, you get it. Chasing another one, you get it. Chasing it again, you don't get it. Anger. It always leads to anger. Clouding of the intellect, and then you do and say stupid things. So we'll end the video there, guys. That completes chapter 3. In chapter 4, it's going to get a little bit more devotional. Now, here's the thing we must realize about the Bhagavad Gita. 18 chapters. The first 6 chapters are mostly to do with karma yoga, the path of action. Next 6 chapters after that, chapters 7 to 12, is to do with devotion. Heavily talks about devotion. The final 6 chapters, 13 to 18, are more to do with knowledge. But having said that, each section still weaves in the other teachings too. That's why I said chapter 1 to 6 is mostly to do with action, but they weave in a bit of devotion, which we're going to cover in chapter 4. I'll see you beautiful people in that video next week, or in the other videos I release during the week. In any case, hope this helps. Take care.